In today's episode, I want to cover one thing that will make you tremendously better at speaking that most people, when they're first getting started, don't even think about when it comes to public speaking. What's up, guys? This is Philip Sessions, your public speaking and presentations coach, here to help you with some speech prep for you today. Now, most people, when they get into speaking, they think that every time they go and speak, and I'm guilty of this myself, by the way. So I have learned this from firsthand experience, as well as watching other speakers that are professional speakers and what they did. And I learned from that. So this is firsthand learning experience. But what most speakers do is when they're first starting out is they will create a new speech for every single stage that they go on to. And now you're thinking, well, yeah, because I don't want to have the same exact message every time. And while logically that does make sense, there's a fallacy behind this. There's a problem with this because if you are constantly creating a new speech over and over and over again, there's two problems with that. One, you're never going to get great at that speech because you never do it twice. You only do it one time. Do you think you're ever going to be good at anything if you only do it one time? Every once in a while, you might hit the jackpot. You might get lucky and do really well. But 99.99999% of the time, you are not going to do well every single time. So you want to make sure that you come up and with one speech and continue to do that speech over and over again so you can get better and better and better. But then the second thing, if you're constantly changing your speech, you can't get recognized for one thing. Speaking is like a business. When you go to present yourself, when you present your topic that you speak on, it's like a business. Nobody starts a business. Look at BMW, for instance. We'll go with them. BMW did not decide that one day they're going to do cars, the next day they're going to do boats, and then all of a sudden they're going to do like RC cars, and then they're going to be in electronics, and then they'll go more into computers, and then they're going to go into hardware. They don't do that. They stick with one thing. They do luxury sedans and SUVs. And even before that, I don't know the whole origins of BMW, but they started with one vehicle. It simply started with one vehicle. And as they got better and got recognized for that one vehicle, they went off and did more. And I know they started with like airplanes and all of that stuff, and then ended up switching over to the automotive industry. But you get my point. A big company like that sticks with one product line until they grow to be so large, and then they might expand a little bit, but they still have their base product line. And that's exactly what you need to do with your public speaking, with your presentation, not presentations, but the multiple presentations that you do, they need to be on one subject. And to give you a great example, and really where I learned this from was actually when I went to GrowthCon 3, and actually GrowthCon 2 to start. I ended up seeing Ed Milet there, and he spoke on a certain topic. And then I saw Jesse Itzler at GrowthCon 3. So it was 2018 when I saw Ed, 2019 when I saw Jesse, and I saw Ed again. And he had changed his speech up a little bit at a Arte Syndicate event where he had changed his speech up, but it was incredible. And guess what? What was crazy is I had seen Jesse Itzler, I think in March of 2019, and then it was October 2019. I saw Jesse again speak, and he had the same exact speech. And then I got to hear Ed's speech. I want to say it was 2021, and people were telling me about how amazing his speech was. And it clicked a lot when I heard Jesse's speech the second time in the same year. But it really clicked when I heard Ed's a couple years later, being the same speech, being a lot of the same stories and everything. And at first I was confused. What? That makes no sense. Why would you speak on the same thing? And then I started realizing they are the greats. They're the ones that are getting paid the big bucks to go speak on these stages. I'm imagining they're getting paid $50,000 to $100,000 for a 1 hour speech, which is pretty incredible, which is at the top of most of the speakers in the world. I think Bill Clinton gets like $1 million, but he's a former president, so it's a little different there. But These guys have the same exact speech and the same stories. And I remember profoundly Jesse Itzler, he changed up his stories a little bit. And I didn't get to hear Ed the second time. I heard it through a recording. So I did get to hear him. And it was a lot of the same thing, but he changed up the speech a little bit. And how did he change up that speech? It was by changing these pauses, changing the tone of how he was speaking and when he would put emphasis on something and when he would start to slow down and drop his voice a little bit and get you to calm down. And then he'd get really excited and start talking louder and get really just amped up. His hands are going everywhere. He would be standing, he'd be kneeling down, because if you've heard Ed talk before, he talks about his son Max, and at this golf game, this golf tournament he was at, and he was behind, and he got down on one knee, looked him straight in the eyes. He said, "We're going to win this thing. We're going to win this. We're going to take it from them. They don't think that you've got this. They think you're a joke." And I'm very much paraphrasing. You definitely want to go check out him on stage. Incredible, just the message alone, but the way he speaks and presents as well. But the key thing I want you to learn from both Ed and Jesse is they are professionals. They get paid the big bucks to go speak on these stages, and yet their speech is exactly the same. And it's the same with your business. And that's why I say public speaking, presenting on stage, is a business. Presenting is a business, because if you continue to change that message over and over again, people are not going to know what it is that you speak on. So that therefore they won't pay you to go be on stage. People won't want to go listen to you. And therefore you're not going to really get paid more. You're not going to get recognized. You're not going to get on more stages. But then also, if you only get one rep in all the time, how do you expect to get better? The same with fitness. If I constantly try and do a 1 rep max, but it's always a different weight, and I keep failing every time, do you think I'm ever going to get stronger? Hey, I didn't hit 315 this time on bench. Well, let me go try 345. Oh, let me go try 405. And I keep failing and failing and failing. Do you think I'm getting stronger? Do you think I'm getting better? No. And that's what's going on with your speech right now, because you want to change it every single time. You got to stop trying to change that speech every single time. It's not going to work out. You have to stick with one message, one speech, a couple of stories within that, depending on the time that you have to present. You share these different stories, but it's one core message at the end of the day. And as you do this one message, you can see what works, what doesn't. You can see how the audience engage the audience, how they maybe they lean in, or maybe they're just sitting back. They're bored to death. Maybe they're looking. They decided, I'm going to be on my phone because there's something more engaging on my phone than your speech right there. So you have to watch out for that. And you have to think back and look at the video. If you can get the video, that's great. You can see, hey, where did I start to lose that energy? Where did I start to gain that energy? What are things that I can do to put more emphasis on this story to create more impact, to create those tingles inside the people? If it's especially if it's an impactful, not a funny situation, a story that you're sharing. But how do you go about creating a message in a story that is going to capture that audience's attention, that's going to keep their eyes on you? And then at the end of the day, get them to want to take action on whatever it is that you want them to, whether it's just following you just for that recognition, or if you have the opportunity to sell from stage, that you are getting that call to action to get them to go buy your product, your program, your service, whatever it may be that you are getting them to purchase. How is that looking? But if you constantly change it every single time, how can you get better? You can't. So treat speaking like a business. And if you need help with crafting your message, if you need help with figuring out what your message is and the stories and how they line up so you can get the most impact and get the most out of every single presentation, I'd love to help you out. That's what I do. I help people out with that. So if you want help with that, I would certainly love to help you out. But even if you don't want to help, just continue to listen to the podcast, rate and review it so we can continue to grow, continue to help people like yourself who are looking to get better at speaking and presenting, because getting the reps in is a big part of it as well. But go get those reps in, but not only those reps, the consistent reps, the same reps, so to say, I should say in quotes, because I want to make sure it's a very similar message, but take an after action review after the speech after the presentation and see how you did. See what things you like, what things you didn't like. How did the audience engage with you? How did they not engage with you? What you can do to be better? What can you do to be better at those certain parts? And just tweak it a little bit. Don't tweak everything at once. Just tweak one or two things. And that's how you're going to get better. So you can do it on your own or you can do it with me. Either way, I'm happy to help you. Just reach out and let me know how I can be of service to you. But with that, guys, have a healthy and blessed day.